Listen up, presented by Dempsey's in Sportsland. Ryan, we just witnessed UConn defeat the Tigers 69-64. Ryan, you have a lot to say about this one. I know you do. What happened here is I think we got a little taste of what life is like without well, you know what? The list is in front of me. I'm not even going to start from top to the bottom. I'm just not. We already know who we're missing. So that's that. I think that down the stretch, now fine, as long as UConn can keep pulling out these hard, tough wins, fine. But I think the question remains. I think now, in my opinion, I think this is the type of games that we're going to see down the stretch. I really do. And if you want to be honest with you, 90% of the schedule, no matter what teams it is, I think that these are the kind of games that you may very well see down the stretch. I called you before we came on. I'm like, Ryan, I think as long as these players that are injured stay out, I think the old days are over, Ryan, of seeing blowout ball games, especially against your conference opponents. I mean, it's just a different kind of year, and I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon.
Well, I hope you're wrong, but I think you're going to be right, unfortunately, because UConn had this game won, and I think everybody watching felt pretty comfortable that UConn was going to win. And, what happened in the third quarter, I'll get to there eventually, but Princeton kept fighting and battling back. And I'm sure all the UConn fans out there that were watching this game went from no nerves at all to up against the edge of their couches and right in front of their TVs watching this game. It was quite a battle there at the end, but a lot on the line tonight for UConn in terms of keeping streaks alive. 1,066 games without back-to-back losses. UConn has a 93-game winning streak against first-time opponents or first time playing Princeton tonight. That dates back to 1996, and UConn is also 76-0 versus opponents with a former Geno player or assistant coach on their staff. And Dorka Yuha is also out tonight, and UConn could have definitely used her tonight. That's for sure. But out six straight game, Dorka's missed. Hopefully she comes back against Maryland. But it was a very even first quarter. Princeton, good rebounding team, very solid defensive team as well. They're experienced. They know how to run their offense. I know a lot of people like to see this as well. Amari DeBerry checked into the game with about 4 minutes left, and right away she got a bucket. And it was obvious. It was obvious from the start that the bigs for UConn were going to be aggressive on offense and on defense. And media timeout hit first. UConn went on a 7-2 run to end the first quarter. I really like Nika Muhl. She got aggressive on offense, and Amari DeBerry looked great as well. And I'm not sure if Geno liked what he saw in practice, or he's watching the podcast and scrolling through the comments about getting Amari DeBerry playing time. But whatever the case may be, she was in there, and she played good in the first quarter, had a very solid game. But UConn came out second quarter, 8-0 run, outstanding defensive effort. It was really fun to watch the UConn being so active on defense, hustling to the ball, getting their hands up, getting them outstretched. And Princeton went without a field goal for over 7 minutes. Aubrey Griffin had a very nice second quarter. The Huskies took a 12-point lead into the half. UConn looked great on the defensive end, but you could tell it was going to be a grind to score. There's so many scorers out on the bench that are injured. And like Geno said at the half, it's just finding who's going to step up and score the ball, and as they try to get in some sort of rhythm offensively. And Aubrey Griffin, going into the third quarter out of halftime, continued to play very, very well. And another scary moment, this is what I was talking about for UConn. 3 minutes into this third quarter, Nika Muhl took an inadvertent elbow to the head or mouth area by a Princeton player. And then when she fell to the floor, Aaliyah Edwards was going in for the rebound, and she also inadvertently hit Nika in the back of the head with her leg. So Nika was on the floor. It felt for like a very long time. It was so quiet in the Gamble Pavilion there. You could hear a pin drop. So that left UConn with 7 active players for pretty much the whole second half. And Caroline got into foul trouble. She had 4 fouls. So that meant Nesh Betancourt had to come into the game. And let's hope and pray that Nika Muhl is okay, because you could tell just by watching how out of sync just really the whole UConn team without her, how out of sync they were on the court. But obviously, without many players out, they're going to be out of rhythm, and the timing's going to be off. But in the fourth quarter, Princeton just kept battling and battling, put a full court press on, really disrupted UConn. Princeton went on an 8-0 run and eventually cut the lead down to 2 points there a couple of times in the fourth quarter. But Aubrey Griffin, again, was really the only player that got anything going offensively, and really the only player that could do anything for them in the fourth quarter. She had a huge drive to the basket, got an and one, but missed the free throw with about 45 seconds left. And then Princeton came down, scored another basket, made it a 2-point game. Yeah, and Ness got fouled. She hit one of two shots, and UConn was able to hold on to win 69-64. But hats off to Aubrey Griffin. She had an amazing comeback game, scoring a career high 29 points and also getting 10 rebounds.
Yeah, and hats off to the Princeton Tigers, Ryan, for making this a close game. And I think that we all pretty much felt that this would come down to the last couple minutes. So maybe not everyone, but most people. And then shout out again to Princeton and their coach, Carly Baribe, an ex-UConn player. And thanks to Tom Kibbe for telling us that one. And she also coached Paige Haley Jones and Cameron Brink and Aaliyah Boston on the USA FIBA team. So, yeah. What do you make? I wanted to ask you very quickly. What do you make of excuse me here while I pull up the scorecard again. What do you make of Aubrey Griffin and Lou Lopez Seneschal? Double-digit performances again from them, 18 points and 29. I had Griffin, Ryan, as the MVP of this game, and she dumped in 29 points. She played 35 minutes, 10 rebounds and assists. So you had Ducharme. Ducharme, still some good numbers. She played most of the game. It's weird because Ducharme only scored 2 points, but I had to tell you, Ryan, I'm like, nowadays, if you're playing for this UConn program, I think it's just a blessing to be able to stay in the game. And when you look down the minutes at the column, at the minute column, as long as you have, let's say 20 to 30 minutes and you can stay in most of the game, I think that's just a blessing to say the least nowadays, huh?
Well, and when you only have 7 active players that are able to play the game, somebody's gonna have to play. So, but yeah, like I said, Aubrey Griffin had an amazing rebound game. She played not very good, to put it in the nicest way, versus Notre Dame. I think she shot 1 of 12. But you could tell she definitely watched film and definitely talked about the game with the coaches, because she didn't settle for shots. She wasn't just getting the ball and immediately shooting it. She kept being aggressive, driving to the lane. Amazing game for Aubrey Griffin. Without her, UConn would have blown the lead and lost tonight. That's for sure. Lou Lopez shot well. She's played pretty good. But it was interesting to see there at the end of the game, going down the stretch in the fourth quarter. She actually wasn't on the court. Instead, it was Ness Betancourt on the court for UConn. So let's hope that Lou didn't get hurt somehow. But I'm not really sure why she was on the bench and Ness was out there on the court. But either way, Lou had an amazing shooting performance as well. A little disappointing from Caroline Ducharme, because I was really expecting her. Obviously, she got the start for the injured AZ Flood, but I was really expecting her to come out and really make a difference on the offensive side of things. And especially when Nika Muhl came out, unfortunately, Caroline was in foul trouble. But even when she did eventually come back onto the floor, it's just disappointing to kind of see her not really being able to make any sort of impact on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, that's what you had. And I expect down the stretch for him to keep rolling with that, the 4-1, the 4 guards and the 1 forward being Aaliyah Edwards. And I tell you what, right now, Ryan, with Aubrey Griffin under the double column tonight, and hats off to her. the 10 rebounds, man, other than the 29 points, at 10 rebounds, that's huge because not only did the defense come up big at the end to close out the game and stop the threat from Princeton, but what I liked was at halftime when I saw only 20 points allowed. Only 20 points allowed because Princeton, Ryan, I watched Maria the other day, and she was talking about how great Princeton is. I mean, this is not a pushover team in any
No.
sort of way. So, again, man, so I just think that no matter how much we talk about the offense diminishing down the stretch, man, that's a lot of pride to take in if you're a UConn Huskies fan and a teammate, a coach, whatever you are. That's the defense seems to never fade away. And I mean, that's what saved them tonight.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up 20 points that only Princeton scored in the first half, because that's how you can tell how much Nika Muhl really means to this team, especially defensively, because like I said, she suffered that injury 3 minutes into the third quarter, and you see Princeton scoring 18 points in the third quarter. They only scored 20 points the whole first half, and Princeton almost making the comeback there, scoring almost 30 points in the fourth quarter. So that's just how much of an impact that Nika Muhl has. Obviously, we
Mhm.
already know she's such a great player for this team, but until a player like that goes out of the lineup and she's injured, you just realize then how much of an impact she really has on this team. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it's nothing serious with Nika, because if she's out, obviously they only have 7 players. If Dorka Juhas is still unable to go for Sunday's game, and really then it's not looking too good.
Okay, and it's time for comments. The time is not looking too good as it's past your bedtime, Ryan. I know that. How about this? I see Jason D'Amico, man. He goes, Connor's Cheetos, focus, Phil, focus. Man, Ryan doesn't want to get into that conversation about Cheetos right now, man, because this was too close for comfort. I'm sure you were on the edge of the couch all night.
Yeah, it was it was nerve-wracking. It was very nerve-wracking.
Alan Lee, gents, you had a comment on your last check-in about UConn winning the second half. I wanted to get through these a couple comments, and I'm glad I found this one. Alan Lee, you had a couple, excuse me, you had a comment on your last check-in about UConn winning the second half, and you shot it down. Look again at the box score, because she was right. UConn outscored Notre Dame by 3 points in the second half without AZ playing a minute. Like I said, this team is fine. If you're going to lose a game, this was a pretty good one to lose. As great as this team is, we all knew they would probably lose eventually, especially considering they play South Carolina and South Carolina. The sky is not falling. This is just Murphy's Law working. Other than whatever you have to say about this comment, but the main topic, Ryan, is I'm not trying to be smart here, but the last time I checked, a basketball game is 4 quarters. I totally understand that they won that second half. So I apologize if I was to you or anybody else. I think you even brought it up and you knew that they won the second half. So we apologize that we shot it down like they're saying. But again, Ryan, last time I checked, a basketball game is 4 quarters.
Yeah, well, I'm still gonna stick by with what I said and say that UConn didn't win the second half. But I think UConn
Mm.
won the third quarter, but I don't think they won the fourth quarter, because obviously they didn't win the game. So even though Notre Dame only outscored them by 3 with AZ Fudd not on the floor, it doesn't really matter. They
Yeah, it's a
still lost.
sticky situation because even when my team's back here in Maryland, even when they lose, you say stuff. I mean, it's life. I'm sure that you're one of the first to admit this, man. And I don't want to cut you off, man. Look, when you lose, man, sometimes you say stuff you don't mean, and it's a sticky situation, Ryan. So take it for what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, just like tonight, I'll use tonight as an example. I would say Princeton won the second half, but they still lost. They still
We're gonna
lost
start
the
having
game.
conversations now. Who wins the first half and the second half? Yeah.
No, but I
Yeah.
mean, obviously it was a really tough loss for UConn. losing to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's obviously a really good team. And with UConn having so many injuries, it's definitely understandable. But, thankfully they were able to come through tonight and win the game. So even without Nika Muhl as well for pretty much the whole second half.
Brian Wilkinson, actually, Notre Dame only outscored UConn by 3 in the second half without AZ and without the UConn players. Shock at her injury. So they did not get beat bad without her. They have had some mental recovery time, and I think they can beat Princeton with who they have.
Yeah, and that's what they did tonight, and they they ended up doing it half the game without Nika Muhl as well. So that just goes to show the toughness of this team, because I think with most of the teams in college basketball, when you only have 7 active players and a lot of them are, well, the rest of them are injured, either out for the season or unavailable for the game. When a team only has 7 players, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for any team to be able to win the game. So that just goes to show, I think, UConn's toughness, their grit and overall effort, to just the will to win. And even though, it's an unranked team, they're playing Princeton. Princeton is still a very good team, and they definitely have a lot of experience. So it was good to see UConn just continuing to battle despite all their struggles. And obviously, it wasn't a good sight to see their pretty much leader, with Nika Muhl going down. So for them to stick to it, even though it was a rough fourth quarter, they were able to grind it out there and secure the win.
This is very interesting. Again, you have to think about the process, Ryan. This was after a very, very sour loss. So keep that in mind. Wesley Johnson goes, "You boys are doing a pretty good job, and we appreciate that, Wesley. You need to do a better job of actually watching the game, though. UConn lost. Here we go again. Here we go again, Ryan. UConn lost the game in the second quarter, not the second half. I watch your videos. You guys got a lot of learning to do. You also did not talk about how good they did in the first quarter. Their shots just weren't falling. If you're complaining about the coach and the team, you are not a true UConn fan. The biggest problem with women's college basketball is the people who cover it and announce it don't do a very good job doing their homework." Well, I'll let you go, Ryan. I mean, in other words, I don't really know what to say, Ryan. So when the team has a bad night, in other words, we have to come on the podcast and we have to say, "Oh man, Ryan," even if it's a loss, "Man, Ryan, tonight was so wonderful."
Well, I mean, first of all, I will say I do watch every game, and unlike last year, because last year I think was obviously a learning experience for both of us, because it was our first year covering this team. And this is only our second year, right? So there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and and you guys helped us tremendously along the way last year with anywhere from the pronunciation to just every little thing. And we definitely appreciate all of you guys that have stuck around and continue to watch us,
Yeah, yeah.
as we keep on improving, and we
Mhm.
can only go up from here. So this is only our second year covering the UConn Huskies women's team. So we definitely, strive to get better and better with each and every game, really. And certainly each and every season, we hope we can somehow improve the podcast and get better. But yeah, I mean, it was a rough overall loss, but I don't think I ever said anything about complaining about the players, or certainly not Coach Gino. But yeah, it was a rough loss, so I know emotions were probably a little high during that game.
Yep, and we totally get it. Moving on. Anita goes, "I doubt they played Dorca before the Maryland game." Ooh.
Well,
So are we seeing a Dorca you guys return on Sunday?
well, I mean, she was right, but I mean, hopefully we see Dorca, because they're certainly going to need her, because I mean, no updates yet on Nika Muhl, but hopefully we get something before tomorrow, before the last check-in video. But obviously, I think we'll learn more about it Saturday or Sunday. But if Nika Muhl is unable to go, I think getting Dorca back would obviously help in a very, very big way.
Sharon Keogh, guys, she was right. UConn won the second half. They were behind it by 17 at the half, but lost the game by 14. So they scored 3 more points than Notre Dame in the second half. Not enough to win the game, however.
Yeah, I mean, despite everybody saying that UConn won the second half, I'm still gonna stick. I'm still gonna stick to my opinion that they didn't win the second half. I'm sorry, you just can't convince me. But I know obviously they won the third quarter, but I just can't see where they won the second half with that fourth quarter that I watched. I just can't see it.
This is an interesting one. I'll let you go. Eric Esco still feel that Gino did a disservice to the team by keeping DeBerry on the bench. Now they really need her size, but she has not gotten quality time on the court. Also, Griffin cannot hesitate when she gets the ball. Either shoot it in one motion, pass it, or dribble it. Don't just stand there thinking. Also, Betancourt needs more quality time too for the same reason.
Well, and that's what we saw tonight. We saw Amari DeBerry get quality minutes and quality playing time, and she had a really good game. She scored a couple points. She got rebounds, and her height and just overall width and size really makes a difference down there in the paint for UConn. So you can definitely tell when she's on the floor. And I would love to see more of her. I think she's an amazing player. So let's hope we get to see more and more out of her going forward. And I completely agree with the comment about Aubrey Griffin as well. You can definitely tell that she improved drastically from the last game, because she did, when she got the ball, it was either a shot, a pass, or a quick dribble to the lane, and she scored just about every time. So it was really fun to watch Amari get quality minutes and her playing well. And it was really fun to watch Aubrey Griffin have a really nice game.
Final score: UConn 69, Princeton 64. Ryan Tigers dropped to 5-3. Huskies are 7-1 on the young season. Ryan, I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, for some Maryland Terps talk and the last check-in already before Sunday. I believe if you ask me, this last recap, or excuse me, not last recap, last check-in spells trouble. I don't know about you, but let's hold that conversation for now. I will see you tomorrow.